Well, good morning, Mag Church. How is everybody doing? You doing well? Hey, I tell you what, you've picked a great Sunday to be at church with us here this morning. We are going to be kicking off a new sermon series, as you can tell. We just got done with the whole book of James. Took 16 weeks to get through that big beast of a book, but it was good. I hope you enjoyed that. But today we're going to be looking at a new sermon series, as you can see, called Suitcase. And really what we're going to be dealing with is baggage. Baggage. We're going to deal with the baggage that we all carry because regardless if we really want to admit it or not, we all find ourselves pulling around suitcases that we really should have left behind a long time ago. Now, here is what I want us to keep in view throughout this entire series, and it's really based off Matthew 11, 28 through 30. If you have your Bibles, you can turn there. If not, it'll be up on the screens. But Matthew 11, 28 through 30, and this is Jesus speaking to his disciples, and he's telling some other people that are around at this time, and look at what he says. Then Jesus said, "Come to me." Who did he say to come to? Me. "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens." And I can't help but think that means a lot of us here today. I mean, how many of you are weary, right? Like you're weary. How many of you are carrying some heavy burdens here this morning? And Jesus is telling you that you can come to him. And I think sometimes that's a difficult thing for us to do because we kind of think like, well, I've got this. I can carry this. I can do this. And you know what he gives? And he says, if you come to me, I will give you, what's that word thereafter? Rest. I don't know about you, but man, I could use some rest right now. I don't know about you, but I could use some rest from some of my burdens right now. I don't know about you, but I could use some rest just from everything that I'm always carrying. And it sounds so simple, right? Just go to Jesus, but how many of us have tried to do that and we still find ourselves carrying the burden? Because it's a lot easier said than done, isn't it? And I think we all would understand that. And he said this in 29, "Take my yoke upon you, let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls." And I just want to take some time to talk about that aspect, that word souls. It would mean our mind, our will, and our emotions. How's your emotional state today? How's your mind doing today? Does it sound good when he says he'll give you rest for that too? "For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Speaking of these kind of things, like wasn't too long ago in June of this past year, I found myself and my family, we were getting ready to go on vacation. How many of you had the opportunity to go on vacation this year? If you hadn't, I feel bad for you. But vacation was great. We got to go to Emerald Isle, North Carolina with Rachel's family as well. And we decided that we were going to fly there. Most of our whole plans from last year, we didn't get to go on vacation like we normally did because COVID canceled everything, right? So we didn't get to do that. So this past vacation was one that was much needed and long overdue. But nonetheless, I was looking to have some great time away. Now, we were going to fly. I don't know about you, but I do know about me. I have this love-hate relationship with airports. Can any of you understand what I'm saying? I have this love-hate relationship with airports. I love the ability to just hop on a plane, not have to worry about driving 20 hours to a destination, even though it seems like I sat in the airport for 20 hours to get to the destination. I love that I can hop on a plane. I don't have to really do anything. They carry me there, right? The destination I'm going without any real impact or effect on my part. I just sit there and go along for the ride. I just take my seat. I enjoy the flight, complete with these noise-canceling headphones that I have that were amazing because if you've ever been on a plane, you know that there are little children there that are crying the entire time. And this thing just let me put those bad boys in, and I couldn't hear a thing. The rest of my family, though, they had to deal with it. I'm sorry. They just had to deal with the craziness. But for me, I just took my seat and I enjoyed the flight with all of that. But the hate aspect of it, that I hate about it, I hate trying to find parking. Parking is always a nightmare. Am I too close? Am I too far away? And I absolutely loathe checking in my luggage. I hate that. And not only that, I also, one of the worst things is going through security, going through TSA. I absolutely hate that junk. Any of you with me? Right? Those things alone make me want to just turn around and go home. I don't want to mess with those things. I mean, TSA is there. Anything more intimidating and humiliating and having to go through a checkpoint like that. You go up there and they can never smile at you. They're never really willing to be helpful or anything like that. They get there and it's sort of like they're the police and they say, hey, take off your shoes, take off your belt, place your wallet, watch, and anything in your pockets and place them in the tray. If you have a bag, put that in a tray. If you have a bag with a computer, take the computer out, put that in a separate tray. All before we even get to go through this thing. And then, top it all off, you feel like you just stripped down completely naked just to go through anything. And so then you're sitting there and, all right, now you get to go through this little metal detector to see if you have anything on you. You go on there and put your hands up. So you're standing there in front of all these people while you're in this thing like this with no shoes or socks. I was wearing sandals, so I took my sandals off. Have no hat on, have no watch on, have nothing of mine, and it's scanning me. I go through, but there's always this fear. There's always this fear that they're going to call me in the back and like strip search me. It is the worst fear possibly. I'm always thinking they're going to be the people that kind of like, this guy looks super suspicious. We should really check if he's some thug trying to bring something in, right? And it never fails. Like there's this weird anxiety about going through all of that. I feel like I have to give myself a little motivational pep talk just to get through it all. But really, before you even get there, before you even really get to the TSA and deal with all of that, you find yourself at check-in. You find yourself at check-in. Now, check-in is a little always deceiving, right? Because when you get into check-in, it looks like there's not that many people there. You're ready to go for this thing. And so, for me, I usually, this past thing I had, when I was there at the airport, had my backpack on like this bad boy. We took this monstrosity, didn't we? Yes, we did. And normally we'll take another thing with us. And so you show up to the airport, and this is what you have. And of course, beforehand, my wife and I had always had pretty good arguments because, hey, there's things that I don't think we should have to take. She thinks we have to take the whole house. But nonetheless, it's a great time, no big deal. Just fighting the whole way there because we don't want any of that stuff. But, no big deal. I'm going to have to carry that thing, and I know that. And so we bring this thing up to check out, and I'm looking at everybody like, oh, okay, it's not too bad here. Not too bad. Not too many people in the checkout. I'll be able to go in and out without any issue. But how many of you know that just because it looks like it's not going to take long doesn't mean that it's not going to take you forever to get through checkout? It's always like the self-checkout machine is broken down, it's not working, there's never enough help, especially in the climate that we're in right now. Someone that is holding up the line, talking to a lady, telling them about their entire trip and where they're going, and they have to have this. Meanwhile, impatient has to just get through it. Can we hold the chit-chat for later? Because I got to get these things on the flight. I don't want to miss the flight. I don't want to sit here forever. Right? Any of you with me? I got all this stuff and I have somewhere to be. I don't have time for anything to stop me. I don't have time to sit there and talk to anybody else. I just need to get this on the plane so I can get to my destination. Because every single one of us has somewhere that we see our life going. We all have somewhere that we see our life going. And sometimes it's so hard to not see that the baggage that we're carrying is actually stopping us from things. And so I'm sitting there and I'm standing in line waiting for all this stuff. And I get up to the line there and I'm looking at everything that's going on. And I'm just waiting and waiting. And sometimes in my life, I don't know if your life's like this, but in my life, I'm in a situation to where God will begin to speak to me in the mundane things that I experience. He will begin to speak to me right where I'm at, with what I'm dealing with at that moment. And because the thing that I realized when I was standing in this checkout line, the thing that I started realizing when I was sitting there holding all of this and trying to get there, and I'm impatient. I've got Gavin here with his stuff. I've got Rachel here with her stuff. I'm carrying a bag that's weighing me down. I just started noticing all around that every single person that was there had baggage. Every single person that came to that airport had baggage. They were all carrying in suitcases, and here's the thing. Some of them brought one, some of them brought two, some of them brought more, like 5 or 6, but every single person that was going somewhere was bringing with them and accompanied with them baggage. And it was this thing that I just started thinking about that, and the reason why I want you to know today is because life is the same way. It doesn't matter where you are, that every single person that you run into is carrying some sort of baggage. And just like check-in, I saw people carrying varying degrees of luggage. Some of you here today, you are sitting with your luggage. You brought your luggage with you. Anywhere you go, you have your luggage. I couldn't help but wonder, is as we're here, is this stuff making it hard to get where I want to go? I mean, do I really need all of this? Do you ever stop to think about the things that you carry? Do you really need all of that to get where you're trying to go? Because there's something about journeying with a lot of luggage, with a lot of baggage, that stops you from moving effectively. You see, I was standing in the checkout line with my backpack that weighs a ton while also pulling a suitcase around that is about as tall as my 10-year-old son, but weighs about as much as I do, it just seems. And it is absolutely making this journey a lot harder. It's making it less enjoyable. And a thought pops into my mind. It just stops me dead in my tracks. Do I need all of this with me? Do I need to take all? Were there certain things that I could have left off that would have made this a lot easier? And I know that you're thinking that I'm just talking about normal baggage, but I'm not really. I'm actually talking about a deeper level here. I'm really talking about those of you who are asking the same thing about all the baggage that you have been carrying around most of your life. I'm talking about carrying around the baggage of that breakup that shattered your soul so deeply that you vowed you would never be hurt like that again. And so what you did is that you built an impenetrable wall around your shattered heart, and you did this. You know why you did this? So that way, what is left alive would never be damaged like that again. And you're walking around with that luggage everywhere you go. And every single relationship, you are bringing it with you. That breakup, that hurt, that pain. Or I'm talking about the child who is an adult today, but still dealing with having the repeat memory of watching their father walk out the door and start a new family and forget that they even existed. And now they fight the insecurity of abandonment, and because of this, it wrecks every relationship they have ever had because they believe no one finds them valuable enough to stay around for. So the whole time, they carry that hurt and that pain, that baggage all the time with them. I'm talking about those of us that are carrying around that hurt that has caused fear. Some of us, we have the baggage of fear. Some of us have the luggage of bitterness. We're so bitter. We're mad at everybody. We're mad at everything. We're critical of everything because we have had a hurt that hurts us so badly that we are so bitter and it spills over to everybody. And it's a luggage that we carry with us every single day. We've got anxiety and we've got depression like they're our favorite wardrobes to wear. But the truth is, the reason we bring it is because it's the only thing we think we have to wear. It's how we approach people. It's what we've learned to just survive. I have to bring all this stuff. Do you not understand that? I have to bring it to survive. I have to bring it so that way when I get there, I'll know what I need. I mean, it's got everything I need. The bitterness, it helps me get going. The building the impenetrable walls around my heart, I need to do that because I can't have another broken heart. I need this luggage. Sometimes it scares me to go to check-in because I don't know if I want to let it go. Because if I let it go, I feel like it takes a part of me. And I don't know if I want to do that right now. I don't know if I want to do that today. And we have become so good at concealing the toll that carrying all of this luggage, all of this all around us is having on us, haven't we? We've become good at concealing things. My pride goes in this bad boy. The broken heart, it goes in this bad boy. The bitterness, the fear, the anxiety, the depression, I put it all in this bad boy, and I can bring it anywhere. And the nice thing about it is, as long as it's in here, you never know I'm dealing with it because you really can't see what I'm carrying. But I know. I know what's on the inside of it. That bitterness, it's in there. But I'm just rolling with it. Fake it till we make it. So what we do to conceal it is we buy the fancy luggage, the fancy suitcases. We buy the ones that have nice little plastic over it. You know what I mean? I could have brought my real banged up ones, but that's going to make you feel and people look like, dude, that dude's got issues. But this one that looks clean and all well put together, this one makes me look like I'm a professional flyer, like I know what I'm doing. And in life, I want people to think that I know what I'm doing, even when I have no clue. You know, right? I've got this boy. It's all black. Can't go wrong with all black. Nobody even knows what's in this bad boy. It's smaller, looks more concise. I mean, I look like I know what I'm doing. But relationships know I don't. Family knows that I don't. They know and they have learned he's just really good at concealing it. Because you know what the truth of it is? Nobody knows what you're bringing. Nobody knows what you have. We buy the fancy suitcases. We'll even go as far as to buy the Louis Vuitton ones. You ever see those in the airports? The people that buy the real fancy, real expensive ones. And you know what I realized about it? Still carries the same junk I do. Still got their drawers in it. Don't you act like it's not in there. Still got the underwear packed in there just like mine does. It may be a couple more $1,000, but the same $5 Walmart underwear carrying that thing. You can't try to make it look like it's better. Because I know everyone has suitcases. It doesn't matter how well you fancy it up. It doesn't matter how much you've paid for them. We think that just because we can do that it takes people by surprise and they don't think that we're not struggling. Makes it appear that we don't struggle with these things, but inside all of those designer threads is the ugly truth that you are praying doesn't bust out and reveal what's really on the inside of that suitcase and with everything that you have. You see, Christians, friends, here's the thing that I realize. We have learned to pack the pain nicely. We have learned to pack the pain nicely. And I just got to say, we've done so well with it that at least it looks good while we carry it. We've packed it so nicely that at least it looks good when we carry it. And here's something that Proverbs tells me about this. Proverbs 13:12 says this: hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. Some of us, we have these dreams that we want to be fulfilled, but we're walking in a deserted place. We want God to do something with them, but we see no evidence of God working in our lives. And so our heart is sick because we've had things go wrong in our lives. We've had cards handed to us that we don't know what to do with. We've had loss. We've had unexpected deaths in our family. We've had things that have come against us. And we have a heart that is sick. I would say that a lot of us are walking around with a very sick heart. And what I can tell you about a sick heart is that if it isn't dealt with, it'll turn into pain. It'll turn into pain. And something that the world has taught us how to deal with and how to do very well. And I want you to listen to this. One of the things that the world has taught us how to do very well with our pain is to just numb it. Just numb it. Just numb the pain. Take some more Advil, take some more Tylenol, just numb the pain. Yeah, just hit some more alcohol, hit some more drugs, just numb the pain. Because if you can numb the pain, you can at least go through it. You can keep going. You could just numb it all. And I find that we are all just walking around numb all the time while our soul is screaming out in pain to us. I call it neuropathy of the soul. Neuropathy of the soul. It's when the mental weight of what you carry becomes too much for you, but you just can't let it go. So it begins to pinch the mental nerve of your emotions, thus numbing them all together. And what happens is you end up convincing yourself that it is better to be numb than to feel the weight of what you're carrying. And so you just numb yourself. You go to every source that can give you some sense of happiness. So you numb yourself. And you convince yourself that it's better this way. But the truth is that you have become so numb that you don't even act like you're human anymore. When's the last time some of you have smiled? When's the last time that some of you have been truly happy? When's the last time that you didn't think about that thing that hurt you the deepest and it not rile or ruin your day? When's the last time? Because we are just numbing everything. And the world always has a solution to just numb. We'll numb it more. We'll numb it deeper. If that doesn't work, we'll find another way to numb it. But we never actually deal with it. We never deal with it. We never get to the root of what's bothering us. It reminds me of what Jeremiah said in Jeremiah 6:14. And I want you to listen to this. Look at what Jeremiah said. He said about this time, he said, they offer superficial treatments for my people's mortal wound. They give assurance of peace when there is no peace. And I want to tell you something. The world is always giving you a Band-Aid for a mortal wound and trying to convince you that it is enough for you to keep going. And so we keep putting little Band-Aids over things that are going to kill us. We just keep loading up the Band-Aids thinking that that's going to heal us. But we need something deeper than that in our lives. Why would you Band-Aid a broken foot? It's not going to happen. Why would you Band-Aid a broken mental aspect in your life? Why would we continue to do that? The world is giving you Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid, but deep inside, every single one of us here that is here right now and watching online knows that it is actually killing us. You see, we were never meant to carry that kind of weight. But you have believed the lie that the world tells you that you can do it. You got this. Don't ask for help. Never ask for help. You've got this. Just do it. In the meantime, we're all dying. We suffer in silence. It's weighing us down, and peace and rest would be so good right now, wouldn't it? I would love some peace and rest, but the problem is I have somewhere to go, Jesus. I don't have time for you to deal with my stuff, Jesus. I don't have enough time to really meet you where you are. I don't have enough time for you to analyze my issues because I'm too busy for it. You know, one of the greatest ways that we've numbed it? Busyness. Well, I don't have enough time. I mean, remember when we used to talk about getting in the Word? Remember that time that we used to set aside to read the Word of God and let it get in our heart? We don't have time for that anymore. Remember, what's that thing that we used to call, starts with a P, prayer. Remember that thing? And you know what's one of the first things that happens when we get too busy? That goes out. And it becomes a slow fade. And before you know it, you were spiritually so strong, but Satan believed that you could do it all yourself without the need of Jesus. So every single one of us is here today with a desire to be free, praising Jesus for freedom, meanwhile carrying all the baggage of our lives. I just got to be honest, I'm tired. Are you tired? There's got to be a better way than this. The truth is, second point if you're taking notes, I think all of us have a tough reality of admitting that we have baggage. Because it's so hard to admit that the baggage that we carry is stopping us. It is so hard to admit that the baggage is stopping us because what we have learned to do is we are conditioned to live in denial that anything can stop us. We are conditioned that when someone asks us, hey, how are you doing? What's the first thing you say without even thinking about it? I'm good. Are you really? I mean, really, are you good? It's just what we say. It's not really true with who we are. And we say that because we really don't want to get into the depths of how I'm really feeling. I don't want to have to tell you to where I'm barely going through. I don't want to have to tell you that, hey, my wife and I, we got in this big argument the other night, but I've stuffed it in my suitcase, and I'm mad, and our marriage is on the rocks. I want to just stuff it in the suitcase because it looks better in the suitcase. I don't want to admit that my baggage is stopping me. I'm good. And it reminds me of a passage that we find in John 8, 31 through 33. And here's what it says. To the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, this is Jesus speaking again, and Jesus says, if you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciples, right? We would all agree with that. Then you will know the truth. You will know the truth. And the truth will set you, what's that word, the beautiful word? Free. I want to be free. Do you want to be free? And the truth will set you free. And look at what he says. Jesus gets done saying this. And you know what the Jewish people tell him? They answer him and say, we are Abraham's descendants and have never been slaves of anyone. How can you say that we shall be free? And when I read this, I thought, that's a weird statement to make. I mean, if you've ever read the Bible at all, I don't understand how he's making this claim. Jesus is telling them how to be free, and what they essentially are telling him is, nah, Jesus, we're good. I've got this, Jesus. Don't you know who we are? We're descendants of Abraham. And because we're descendants of Abraham, they actually say this is the kicker. They actually tell Jesus, we have never been slaves to anyone. To which when I read that, I went, what? You've never been... How do you think that you've never been slaves to anyone? If you have read the Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelation, you will see that they have been slaves multiple times. right? I could tell you about the 400 years of slavery that they were in with Egypt. I could tell you about the slavery they had with the Assyrian Empire. I could tell you about the slavery they had with the Babylonian Empire. I think throughout the entire Bible, they have mostly been slaves. And even as they're talking today, as they're talking during the time of Jesus, guess who occupies their land? Not them, the Roman Empire. They don't own it. The Roman Empire tells them what to do. You know what that is? Denial. It is straight up denial. And you may think that that sounds crazy, but we do the same thing today. Is God offers freedom, Jesus offers freedom, and we're always like, no, I'm good. I've got plenty of freedom. I've already got that life, Jesus. Meanwhile, looking ridiculous saying no when we're carrying all this around. No, Jesus, I don't need any of that. I'm good. I'm okay right now. What? What are you talking about? They were enslaved. I just got to tell you something. There is nothing worse than seeing people who are unable to see their need for freedom. There is nothing more frustrating than seeing people who are unable to see their need for freedom. They have been carrying baggage for so long that they can't even see that it has actually enslaved them. I see a lot of believers like this too, that what they're carrying, it is enslaving them. They deny that they have baggage that is stopping them from doing or being what God has called them to. When they pray for strength to carry things that God told them to cast aside. I see it all the time. God, just give me strength to carry the thing that you said I should give to you. Why do you need strength for something that you weren't supposed to carry? Because I can do it, Jesus. Just trust me. What? What are you talking about? But they don't even consider themselves in need of freedom, so they have gotten used to carrying that suitcase with all the bitterness and all the rage. They have gotten used to carrying the carry-on bag of anger and resentment, and we can't forget about the huge suitcase of jealousy that a lot of us carry around, seeing other people and what they have and desiring it for ourselves, like, God, why didn't you give me that? I think this really hit me as it was my turn to check in the luggage. Now, I sat there for a while fuming because it was taking too long. Finally, it's my turn, and I'm like, let's get this bad boy done. I remember pulling it up, and I get up to the thing, and you know how they have the little scale there. You're supposed to lift up your suitcase, check that bad boy in. And I kind of knew this could be a problematic thing for me because I could tell just from the weight of it, that we may have some problems. But I was in denial of it. Because you know why? Like, they'll make it work. We'll make it work. You know, we got this. We got this. And so I bring it up. I roll my suitcase in, and she goes, all right, sir, go ahead and put it on the scale. And I have to get down on my squat stance. Pick that bad boy up, and just boom, done. My workout for the entire year is right there. And so I get that on there, and all of a sudden, you can kind of, you know how sometimes you know you're in trouble when she kind of goes, what's going on here? And she looks at me, she goes, well, sir, it's over the weight limit. And you know what I said? No, it can't be over the weight limit. There's no way. There's no way it's over the weight limit. You sure can. Let me try to take it off there, right? And you're trying to take it off, but it's too heavy. And you're like, no, it's okay. It's okay right there. But I'm like, is there a way to recalculate? Are you sure that your scale is right? And she just kind of looks at me like, yeah, it's still overweight, sir. And I felt like she's getting testy with me now. Like, I'm just trying to make this thing work. Why can't she work with me? Doesn't she know that I need all of this? What am I going to do now? Like, it's overweight? And she goes, yes, sir, it's overweight. And I'm like, well, that's great. I'm an hour from home. I can't take anything back. So what am I going to do? And you know what she does? She says, well, I've got this bag that you can have. She gives me this bag, and she goes, the only thing I can tell you is that you're going to have to start unloading stuff from that suitcase into this bag to bring it to weight. And I was like, in front of all these people? Do you know what I have in there? And she's like, sir, that's the only way. Because in order for us, and I want you to listen to this, in order for us to take it as it is, at the way that it is, it's going to cost you. And it was like the Holy Spirit just dropped something. Sometimes luggage that you need and you're unwilling to let go of is always going to cost you something. And we're sitting there, and I'm in a conundrum because I don't know what to do. I've got this little all-gray paper bag or plastic bag, and I'm sitting there looking at each other, and Rachel and I just finally go like, all right, let's go for this. So I'm holding this bag, and I'm unzipping this beast, praying that my underwear doesn't fall out. I'm sitting there, and I'm pulling whole denim jeans out and throwing them in the bag. I'm throwing shoes in there and everything else. And Rachel's got 500 different types of hair products because she's a hairstylist. And I'm pulling that all off, and I'm just like, throw it in the trash, right? But she needs it. She thinks she needs it. I'm trying to preach to her what God's given me that sometimes... Kidding. But we're getting this all out, and I'm pulling it into, and we're pumping it into the thing, and I keep raising it back up afterwards, and she goes, it's still too heavy. And I'm like, oh, God, help me. And it just kept going and going and going. And I just thought to myself, can this nightmare end? Can it just be over? And as I'm sitting there, and I keep just pulling all of this stuff out, God began to just kind of speak to me. I had to look. I had to see. And there's two things going on. I knew that to take it as it is with all this weight and overweight, then I'm going to pay far more than if I just find another way, because we had a carry-on that we could take that it wouldn't charge me anything. But there's a part of me that unloading all this was an extra thing that I just didn't want to do. You ever been there? And I'm sitting here doing all this stuff. And when she said it's going to cost you more, I felt like God wants me to tell all of you that too, because just because you can carry it doesn't mean you should. Just because you can carry all of the baggage, just because you can carry the bitterness and the jealousy and the hurt and the pain and whatever situation that you like to pack with you and it goes along with you, just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Because in the long run, listen to me, it is always going to cost you more in the long term than it does in the short term. You may be okay right now, but it's about later in your life that I worry about. And what you must decide right here today, just like I was, is the cost worth it? Is carrying around all the pain worth it? Is carrying around all the bitterness worth it? Is carrying around all the discontentment, is it worth it? Is carrying around the anger and the frustration, is it all worth it? Because you have to decide today whether it is worth it or not. And as I was thinking about this, it's just kind of interesting that I was watching this documentary on Netflix. And it was actually about bodybuilders. Now, why I got on to watching this, I have no clue, because I have no desire to be a bodybuilder, as you can see. But it was an interesting thing to me. It was chronicling the life of a guy named Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman was also a police officer, but beyond that, he had to have been the most ripped police officer I've ever seen. This guy won 5 Mr. Olympias. He was recorded as squatting and deadlifting 800 pounds. Isn't that amazing? 800 pounds. How many of you think that you could do that here today? 800 pounds. The only one maybe close is Jason, maybe Jason. He was an absolute specimen of muscle. And in the documentary, at 56 years old, you know what was sad to me? It showed him barely able to walk. Barely able to walk. The extreme weight he had pushed had caused his body to break down, needing multiple surgeries to correct. But now the combination of the two has negatively affected his livelihood. And that's the thing about carrying things that are too heavy. Is you may be able to do it for a while. You may be able to impress everybody with how much weight that you can carry or deadlift or lift above your head. You may be able to really build a life based off of that. After all, who wants to admit that they aren't strong enough? I don't want to. You don't want to. I'm strong enough to do that because who wants to admit to weakness? I've been told that my entire life. You can do it. You can do it. My whole life has been about proving people wrong. I don't know about you, but my whole life has been about proving people wrong. It has been the fuel for my journey a lot of times. Proving people wrong, I'll show them. I'll show them. They didn't believe in me, I'll show them. They don't see it in me, I'll show them. And I wonder how many of you are carrying that same baggage of I'll show them. I'll show mom, I'll show dad. You just wait. I'll show them. I can be something. I'll show them. And so we carry this boulder of hurt and pain. And that I show them, that becomes part of the problem, doesn't it? Part of the biggest problem that we're carrying is our own ego. Because ego will make you do things that kill you for the sake of saving your image. But what I have found is that if you want freedom, you have to be willing, and listen to me, you have to be willing to lose your dignity for it. If you want to have freedom, you have to be willing to lose your dignity for it. You know what I mean by that? Do you know how hard it is for me especially, and I'm sure you're like me, is say, I need help. I need help. You know why that's so hard? It's because we've always been told, just fake it till you make it. Or how about this? I don't think I can do that. And you know what everybody will say? Don't you say that. Don't you say that. And I think that what we're trying to do is try to reinforce that they can do things. But there's moments to where we have beat that into people so much that when there is something they can't do, they struggle with the rest of their lives. When they have seen it time and time again that they can't do it, but they hear in their mind, no, you can. I have to get rid of my ego that stops me from receiving the help that I need. Sometimes that's talking to other people. Here's a crazy one that's always looked down on in the church. Is sometimes that may mean therapy. Oh, not therapy, that evil thing. Yeah, therapy. Because there are people that go through things in their lives that just a simple conversation with a friend doesn't do anything. Even a simple conversation with their pastor doesn't go deep enough to do it. There are some people that it is okay to say, you know what, I need to talk to someone. Because you know what I realize? I would rather have someone here than to have them commit suicide because they were too afraid to reach out for help. It's quiet in here. But I think it needs to be said in the church that if you are going through things mentally, it's okay to say, I need help. Because you know what? I have to get to the point where I don't care about what it looks like. I want to care about what it will look like. And for some of you that this seems to hit right now, I just want to let you know that sometimes it's tough. But by asking for help and people can get around you, that's why community is such a great thing. Because it lets you know, hey, we'll bring you through this. We got you. You know what was one of the most pivotal moment for me? Was a couple weeks ago when I admitted I just bared it all. I confessed, like, hey, I've been having some tough time. And you know what you guys did? You came up here and prayed for me. Why? It was me shedding the ego and saying, you know what? This is getting the best of me. But see, I don't like to do that, I'll be honest. I like for everybody to think, oh, man, he's got his stuff good. Because I always act like I got it good. In the meantime, carrying all this is breaking down my joints. It's breaking me down mentally. I know if it's doing it to me, it's doing it to you. And I couldn't help thinking about this, that here's this Ronnie Coleman guy who could bench 800 pounds. And I mean, it's a testament. It's pretty cool. I'll admit, it's really awesome, and I'm not putting it down. But there was a correlation that I was thinking about, and I'm like, you know, I think that's the true example of that just because you can lift it doesn't mean you should. And as the lady's there, she's having me go through everything, and I'm sitting there, and I'm pulling it out, putting it in this bag, and at one point, I've got the real goods, you know, and I'm pulling it out, and it falls all over the place. And I look down, and it is all of my underwear. And I thought to myself, why couldn't it have been Rachel's underwear? Why did it have to be my underwear? I mean, I could have been like, oh man, look at this. Look at all this stuff. Boy, look at this. But it was mine, and so I'm like trying to like jump over it and hide it, and there's all these people behind, and I'm sitting like, oh man, these guys think I'm idiots. I'm holding up the line. I don't like this, and I'm lifting it, and I'm lifting it and putting it in this bag, and I keep putting it up and trying to check it frantically. It's my worst fear. As weird as it is, I get this weird anxiety about holding up lines. And everybody's looking at me. And I look around. Do you think anybody ever cared? Like, no. The only thing they were concerned about is, can this idiot hurry up so we can get on? But this idiot sitting there going, like, these guys are judging me because of what I'm taking out of my bag and I'm putting in, and they're probably thinking, I've been there 100 times, bro. Like, do you need some help? We'll get it off there. But what I'm trying to bring to you today is that we all find ourselves at the check-in. And you need to know that you all have baggage. And when you're there, they're going to say, is that what you want to check in? And is this what you're bringing? And I'm going to bring on my carry-on, and the reason for that's because they don't check my carry-on that much. I like that a little bit better. So I'm going to put the things that I don't want to be exposed in this bad boy. We'll talk about that later. But this bad boy, it has to go on. It has all my junk. It has everything that way. And as I'm lifting it up, I think there's times to where we find ourselves with God doing the same thing in our lives. We're bringing our baggage and we're bringing it to Him, and He's sort of saying just like that, listen, if you bring it to me, I can give you rest, but sometimes the rest looks like I need you to empty what is weighing you down. But God, I can't do that. There's something wrong with the scale. It's perfectly fine. I can do this. No. I know down the road it's going to cripple you. I know down the road it's going to cripple you. But Jesus, you have to understand, like, this is humiliating to do this. It is. But it's a necessary thing for it to make the journey easier and to get you where you want to go and where you need to go. Because I'll be honest with you, it is so tough to be willing to part with what you don't need. And all of us here today, we deal with it. We all struggle with it. It can be heavy. it can be difficult. But the truth is, God wants all of our baggage. He wants it all right now. He wants all the things that we're afraid to give to other people. Because here's the thing, what good is it to carry around bitterness like that? It just makes you an awful person. What does it do to carry a pain so deeply that it literally has literally cut off your life? It makes every relationship bad. You don't see yourself through it, so you just carry it. There are some things that God is examining that you carry, and He's saying, I need to take it away right now. But the question is, are you willing to do it? Are you willing to say, God, if it really means freedom, take that bitterness, take that pain, take that hurt. Do whatever you've got to do. That sounds so simple to say, but it's a lot harder to do. I wonder where you are today. And I know that we've got some things up here, and this really is just an introductory to it. This isn't really what we're going to get into, because tomorrow I'm going to deal with, or next Sunday I'm going to be dealing with bitterness. Actual key things and luggages that we carry. We're going to deal with bitterness, jealousy, fear. Deal with a ton of things that we all find ourselves carrying, that it becomes a weight that we don't need to carry. And how do we get rid of this? Because Jesus says to cast it upon Him, but what does that even actually look like? My hope is that we can find that and it can help set you free today. Daniel, can I have you come? What's kind of interesting is even up here with a backpack and carrying around this stuff, I honestly say that this has stopped my ability to be effective today. I lost my place several times because my iPad thinks it wants to go back up to the very beginning. Every time I move away with this, I find myself somewhere else. Then I'm having to sit there and stop with it. Then it's over here. Then I have to move over this way. But it's weighing me down. I'm like sweaty up here too. It's like a workout. I don't even like to work out. And Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I'll give you rest." I mean, I really don't know about you, but for me, rest sounds pretty good. You can't rest when you are trying to carry everything that bothers you. You can't really find rest when you're allowing bitterness and rage to be out at every single thing that you do. It can't be rest when you're wrestling with unforgiveness and you just don't know what to do with it. That's why Jesus said in verse 29, He said this. He didn't just say that He was going to give it to you. He actually goes farther and He says, "Let me teach you." What I find about walking in Christ isn't that He just gives it to you. Are there moments and gifts that He gives? Absolutely. But there are other times to where He'll have you go through the lesson. And He has you go through that lesson to learn this thing. And He's saying that in order to learn freedom, you have to go to Him. You have to learn it from Him. And that's what we're going to look at over the next couple of weeks, is we're going to look at what it means to cast our burdens on Jesus. Like I said, next week, we're going to focus on bitterness. But right now, I have to wonder that whether you realize it or not, some of you, your suitcases are stacked in here right now. You've brought them all with you, and you loaded them into your car, and you've brought them with you. You'll go to work tomorrow, and you'll load them all there, and you'll have those things with you. Today, you'll go out to eat, and they'll be right with you, just like the rest of the family. And guess what? Your family will have their own baggage there too. And that same baggage that stopped me from how I feel being really effective in communicating and ministering to you today, it always affects everything we do. And God is here today saying, hey, why don't you let me take that? Why don't you let me have that? And I think sometimes, if I'm honest, it's because, God, I don't know how to. I don't necessarily know how to right now. Can you give me the strength to do it? Can you give me the wisdom to do it? And you know what? I'm up here this entire time. And I've been wearing this stupid backpack. And it's hot. I got these stupid lights that are blazing down on me. But I look pretty. And you know what? I think, God, it's as simple as this sometimes, is recognizing what you have on. I didn't need to preach on this stupid thing. Right? I didn't need this on at all. I could have set it down and you guys would have got the same kind of thing about it. And that's the same thing in life. Hey, you don't have to carry that bitterness around. Hey, you don't have to carry that hurt that has shaped you into who you are, given you insecurities, making you feel like you could never be loved, making you feel like you have to prove everybody. You don't have to wear that. So maybe today it just looks like this. A lot easier. A lot freer. Maybe it just starts with one thing today. And maybe today it's just this thing like, Lord, I am so bitter sometimes. I have been hurt by people that I love the most. And it is wrecking me. And it is wrecking every single other relationship that I have, God. I don't necessarily know how to do it, God. And there's days where I do better with it, and there's days where I do worse with it. But can you just help me? Can you give me the wisdom? Can you help me shed the layers? Can you help me take out the junk in my suitcase so that way it just doesn't cost me as much, because I know it's cost me so much. God, I pray that you can help people do that today. I pray that they can understand that they don't have to carry every little hurt, every little pain with them like it's luggage. They can leave it behind. They do not have to take everything with them. And help them differentiate what they need to take versus what they think they need to take. And may you lead us to safety. And may you lead us to freedom today. In the mighty name of Jesus. And everybody said, amen. Guys, I hope that you can learn to leave it behind today, know what you're carrying, and leave it there. We love you. Have a great rest of your day. Micah, happy birthday, buddy. Come on, stand up there, Micah. We need you to stand up. Just need you to stand up. Oh, yeah. How old are you today? How old? You guys want to sing a song to him? I think we need to sing a song to him. Come on. You ready? Can you stand on the chair just for a second? All right, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Micah. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. We love you, buddy. Have a great birthday. And to the rest of you, we love you too. Have a great rest of your day. And we will see you next Sunday.
Who's got a birthday next week?
Yeah, right.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.